What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the all-new Flamma FX150 multi-effects processor unit. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-stand or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes with a massive gas bubble in their stomach at all times, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, on deck today, we have a brand new multi-effects processor unit from the fine folks over at Flamma. This is the FX150 guitar multi-effects processing unit. And in that intro clip, I had a preset set up that is basically a Mark V with a solid thrash metal tone dialed in, no overdrive out front, a classic Mesa 5-band style EQ, in the loop of the amp going into an Archon 4x12 cab sim. And honestly, I thought it sounded excellent. Now, if you guys missed my video on the Flamma FX200 multi-effects processor unit, then you will probably already know what to expect with the FX150 because it essentially has all of the same modeling, all of the same functionality just packed into a slightly smaller form factor. So the main differences between the FX200 and the 150 is that the 150 is in a smaller form factor, therefore the XLR outputs have been removed off the back of the unit and the MIDI functionality has been removed off the back of the unit. But otherwise, all of the same modeling, the same touchscreen, the same functionality, everything else is the same between the two units. So if you don't find yourself needing the XLR outputs or the MIDI functionality, then you can save yourself some money with the FX150. And before we get too far, just as the FX200 video was sponsored by Flamma, this video is also sponsored by Flamma. They have sent me this unit and they have paid me to share this unit with you guys here on the channel. So with that being said, feel free to take everything I say with a grain of salt. You are more than fair to do so, but just know that I'm gonna give you guys my honest opinion as I always do. So I will say guys, I am impressed with the modeling on the Flamma units. I really enjoyed it on the FX200 and it's the same stuff in here. So if you guys wanna see a video, a deep dive of really how to operate the Flamma interface because they are the same between these two pedals, go ahead and check out that FX200 video. I'll put a card up here and I'll put a link down in the description. But what I really want to do with the FX150 is I just want to show you some tones. So I've created a number of presets of amplifiers that I liked, all with different cabinets and different pedals and stuff. So we'll kind of jump into those presets a little bit. And then I will also send this unit out into a Blackstar Amped 1 power amp into this Crate Vintage 30 loaded cabinet with an SM57 on it. So we can see if those amp tones translate into real world good sounding tones. Wow, those were a horrible combination of words. But you guys understand what I'm saying. For right now, we are going into the front end of my interface. There will be no post-processing on any of the sounds that you hear in this video. Now, this is not available at the time I'm filming this for purchase yet. It is listed on Flamma's site for $300. So let's go ahead, let's jump into a different preset here. We're gonna start with Fred's Beehole. Fair warning to everybody watching, I named all of my presets extremely immaturely, and I would have to be pretty disappointed with myself if I didn't do that. So off the top of my head, this is a Friedman BE amplifier. We're boosting it with, I believe, a Tube Screamer style boost, and we're going into a Friedman 412 impulse response. So very much has the Friedman thing going on. Let's jump into this and I'll show you exactly what we have in the preset. Much like the FX200, because this unit has the same layout and the same interface, I really like the way that you control everything on here. You touch the preset screen, you can go into your overdrive, you basically just double tap anything you want, and here you can see we've got a tube OD out front. We can go into the amp, and this is where you can go in and change all of your amp models. It gives you very basic EQ controls. Now, my same gripe with this as applies to the 200, you only get bass, middle, treble, presence, master, and gain. So the controls don't reflect the real life controls of the amplifiers. They all have the same EQ layout, but it gives you enough options to dial in the amp the way you want, especially with the post EQ that you can enact if you want to. On this amp, we don't have it because I like the way that it sounds without it. So again, we're on the Fryman 412, and this gives you the option to have a low cut, a high cut, to simulate space. This basically works in some like room sound. And then it also gives you a tube option. And as soon as we go into something like the 6L6, you'll see it makes a pretty big difference. Really wish this option was in the actual amp menu and not the impulse response menu, because when you are bypassing the impulse responses like we're going to do if you're putting it into a power amp and a cabinet, you don't get to take advantage of this tone shaping feature. So we've got 6V6. How about EL34, since that's what a Friedman's actually gonna run on? I think that's a fantastic sounding setup right there. As you can see, we've also got options for a reverb, delay, modulation type effects. We've also got an initial effects here, block for stuff like auto wah and compression and all the other effects that you use if you don't actually know how to play guitar, like the talk. All right, sorry. Let's jump into my next preset, which is Browntown, and this is a 5153 simulation. So very much 5153 style. Again, if we go into the cab and we put a 6L6 tube setting on the cab, so very smooth, very compressed. Lots of gain going on. Definitely has that 5150 thing. Not bad. I was liking the Friedman a little bit more. Let's go to the Arch Dong. This is a PRS Archon simulation, and I believe we've got the Archon cab on this as well. Yes, we do. Let's go ahead. Let's kick on that 6L6 sim on here. Let's get a little bit more mid. That Archon 412 cab, I'm not sure what that exactly is supposed to be modeling because I don't believe that there is an Archon 412 cab, but the speakers, whatever's in there must be scooped. Let's try something like a V30 loaded 412 because that's something that a lot of us would be more familiar with. So digging that one as well. For the overdrive on that, we have the Obsessive OD, which is like a OCD drive, I'm pretty sure, but we can go down here. We can put on something like, say, Screamer 808. That has been the arch dong. Let's move on to the rectum fried. I'm sure you guys can guess what this is. As you can see, this is definitely like the modern channel on a rectifier. For the cab, I believe I have, yep, I've got the Cali Recto 412A. Let's turn on that tube simulation again. All right, so that is the rectum fried. Here is the slow blow 100 SLO. So I've got the mids pretty high on that thing. Let's actually go into the cabinet. We've got the Dizzy 412B, which is like a diesel. We've already got the 6L6 tube on here. And to me, I feel like this SLO model, simulation, whatever you want to call it, I can't figure out what I want to call it, definitely lacking low end. It needs more low end. And I feel like it's really, really forward in the mids. SLOs can totally sound like that, but in this instance, it's a little bit much. Something just fell off of my shelf and it scared the hell out of me, so I don't know what that was. But anyways, yeah, I really feel like this SLO simulation is not my favorite. It's definitely lacking some low end. So we've got an actual BBE preamp style pedal out in front of it. Let's try something else, something that's gonna give us a little bit more bass response. Let's try the Jimmy, which is basically a Timmy. All right, so that is okay. Again, not my favorite model. I feel like there are a few amp models on this thing that really shine, and then there are some that just don't quite get there. But let's go in, let's actually go and just redesign a preset. I wanna do something that's gonna work with some lower output PAF style pickups. Let's kind of dial in like a crunchy punk rock tone with something like an 800 style sim. All right, guys, so I've got my Epiphone Les Paul Custom here with the Gibson custom buckers in it. Let's, I need to tune this guitar, so let's check the tuner on this because it's got a built-in tuner. And that's nice, it actually mutes your output so you don't have to drive the rest of your band crazy while tuning. Nice simple display, bright, easy to read. All right, yeah, sounds pretty accurate, very easy to use. The tuner is a win for me. So let's go in here, let's change out the amp. Let's get something a little bit on the lower gain side. I'm feeling something JCM 800E. I always like checking out the JCM 800 style patches. Let's get a more vintage inspired cab, something with greenbacks in it maybe. And actually we do have spots to load in your own custom impulse responses. So if you want to do that, you hook it up via the USB-C connection and you can throw in whatever you typically use and use it on this unit, no problem. All right, so we don't have like a Marshall greenback style 4x12 loaded in this thing, but we do have the 5153 cab, which has the EVH greenbacks. And that sounds pretty good to me. We are on the 6L6 tube setting though. Let's go over to that EL34. All right, that's definitely sounding like a good old school Marshall. I'm liking it. Let's go ahead and let's get that bass up a little bit more. And let's throw some sort of overdrive on. Let's actually throw a rat in front of it. Oh, that is a great tone. I'm actually really digging that. All right, definitely does the cranked Marshall thing, no problem. Really liking the way that that sounds. Let's dial in a preset for a drop C riff real quick. All right, guys, so we've got the Angle Savage with the Angle Savage 412 on with a TS 808 in front. All right, the last thing I want to do for this video, guys, I want to go into this cabinet and this power amp and see how these tones translate into a setting where you would actually be projecting some volume with them as opposed to just going into an interface. All right, not mad at how that sounds at all. That sounds pretty good. Let's get maybe just a little bit more volume so we can get the speakers to open up a little. Maybe still a tiny little bit of digital artifacting in the top end, but you're not gonna notice that in most live full band settings. So as long as you can dial that amp where you like it and where it's gonna cut in the mix, let's add a little bit more lid? What? Let's add a little bit more mid, pull out some gain. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Flamma FX150. What did you think about this modeling unit? Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think that the modeling on here sounds good? Is the functionality usable in a real world situation? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments and I'll meet you down there to talk about it. Thanks again to Flamma for sending this unit out and for sponsoring this video. If you would like to pick up one for yourself, I will link to the Flamma website, and if it is actually listed on Amazon at the time that this video goes live, I will link to that down below as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.